and welcome to my YouTube channel where I make cosplays, crafts, and other weird crap. And today, I'm going to show you how I made this little lollipop from Trick or Treat. This is carried by the character Sam, who is my son, and I love him dearly. I have so much Trick or Treat merchandise. I have a poster on the wall. I have another project that I'm going to make for you guys next week. I just bought, hold on. I bought this today. So I kind of have a problem, but the movie Trick or Treat itself has a lot of like interwoven storylines. It's actually really good. It has some things that I'm like, it's not needed, but overall I really thoroughly enjoy it, and it has a lot of great twists and turns that you don't really expect, and of course it's pretty gory, so you know. But enough chitter chatter about the movie. I'm gonna show you guys how I made this, so sit back, relax, and let's have fun. Here we go. So first I took 4 smaller skewers and made them into one larger dowel rod. You can skip this step by buying a thicker dowel rod, but I was just using what I already had. Most of these projects are just me using the materials I have on hand, so that way I can actually work through the things I have to justify buying more art supplies down the line. Next step, once the hot glue dried, I took thin craft wire and wrapped around the skewers both up and down so it would be more secure. You could use a thicker wire for this. I used the thin one because I think the thicker one might have been too thick and distracted from the overall look at the end. Once it was glued down, I added layers of ribbon around it. You could use any fabric really that you wanted, but I had this gold ribbon that I've really never used, and I wanted to use some of it up. As you can see, it took me a while to get it to wrap correctly. First I was trying to coil it up or down the skewer, but it wasn't laying correctly, so I just wrapped it a few times on the same spot, and then cut off the excess and moved down the skewers a bit, and repeated this a couple more times. I used the hot glue gun tip to melt the bit of ribbon to smooth it out some. Next I took an old ribbon tube and ripped the ends off, rather poorly I might add, but you don't have to use an old ribbon tube. You could also just cut out cardboard or poster board or anything really to the size that you wanted. I just had this idea and I decided to go for it. Then I took some scrap foam, glued these cardboard circles to it, and then cut them out. We should really give myself a round of applause for my stellar camera work. I do love that you can't even see sometimes what I'm working on. Good job, B. Way to go. Once I cut the foam with cardboard onto it I freehand drew on the shape of the bite in the lollipop. If you wanted to be more accurate, I would recommend printing out a picture of the lollipop to scale, then cutting it out and tracing it onto the foam, the cardboard, whatever you're making the lollipop out of. I just personally like to test my freehand abilities with every project I do. I lined up the foam cardboard pieces and stabbed through the pieces so it would be exactly the same on the other side. And then I went and cut it out individually. The stabbing is the easiest way to make it almost identical on each side without using a proper pattern. Next I picked up those handmade dowel rods again and glued those foam cardboard pieces onto each side, making sure to line up the bite marks as best I could. Then I took extra foam and lined it up with the edges of the lollipops to make it look like a complete shape. I had to trim it down to size, and then I glued the foam around the edges. I'm not gonna lie, putting glue on the teeth mark areas was a little difficult, but I think I made it work. My favorite little tool to use while crafting is this random glue sculpting tool I've had for years. I use it to push down hot glue pieces because sometimes I don't want to burn my hands and I'm impatient, and it makes it easier than burning myself. So then I covered both cardboard sides with hot glue completely to make it a little bit smoother. And then once the hot glue was dried, it was time to paint. The colors I used were matte black, orange, and later yellow. The orange's name is Jack-o'-lantern, how convenient. And then I started covering the entire thing in black. I had to give it a couple of coats before it was solid, and then it was time to move on to the orange parts. So before I actually started painting with the orange, I grabbed some yellow, and I painted it over a couple of times on the base. And I know what you're thinking. Why would you take yellow foam, paint it black, only to paint it yellow again? And that's because foam does not take color as well as other materials, and since I had parts that were foam and parts that were cardboard and parts that were ribbon, I knew that if I did not put a essentially primer coat on all of this, it would be not the same color and it would not look right. So I didn't want the colors to look off from each other. Once I got a couple of yellow coats of paint on the Lollipop, it was actually time for orange. Using yellow really showed me all the flaws on the foam on this project, but I think I end up covering it pretty well with the orange. I put a couple of base coats of orange over the yellow to get it a nice solid color. And then, ooh, look, foreshadowing for my next project. My workspace is tiny, and so sometimes I have to leave projects out near each other while they're drying. I also usually don't work on multiple projects at once, but for the month of October, I have been. So my workspace is a little messy. Next, I took this old ribbon string shoelace thing from who knows what, and then took a mixture of orange, brown, and gold, and made sure to, well, first I measured the ribbon onto the dowel to see how I wanted it to look. It took a couple tries to measure it out right, but then once I got it to the length that I wanted, I cut it down to size, and then I started painting it with that color mixture. The paint itself did harden up the fabric a little bit, but that's okay. It honestly helped it in the end. Also, not quite sure why the color changed so drastically. I'm using the exact same camera, the lighting changed. Wow, lighting's amazing. But anyway, I took the orange gold and then some orange glitter and put it into a thick mix. And I was honestly worried it wasn't going to paint well with how thick this glitter was, but it actually turned out beautiful. So then, more painting time. I also think the thickness of the glitter paint covered up all the little errors and scratches I saw in the foam. So it worked out awesome. I also just love how shiny it is. Once I got the orange onto the Lollipop, I wrapped the ribbon back onto the base of it and then glued it only at the top and the bottom. I didn't worry about gluing around the dowel rod itself because since it was pretty stiff from the paint, it actually held the shape pretty well, and I really only had to glue the top and bottom down for it to stay. And then, last but not least, it's time to paint the face on this jack-o'-lantern. I only paint one side. I'm gonna be so real for a second. I was so worried about messing it up. I was like, I am not risking painting it on both sides. Like I said, I freehand a lot of my stuff, so I knew I was going to take this metallic black paint and freehand the face on. And I was so nervous, but I think it actually turned out really super cute. And with all that being said, it is time for the reveal. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on this video, comment down below what your favorite part of the movie Trick or Treat is, and let me know if you think I should add blood to this guy. I'm not sure if I should. I kind of like how he looks without it, but you let me know what you think. But anyway, I'll see you all in the next episode. So